Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of Conscious Dating Online. I am your host, Francis Mahan. Our conversation today will be about making decisions, making choices that we know with confidence are the right choices, not the wrong. Have you ever tried to do something just to please a friend or gone on a date with someone just because you feel lonely, you didn't want to be home, you rather go and try and see what happened, only to find out that as your gut feelings told you, you made the wrong decision. Making choices can leave us unhappy, feeling unworthy, and a feeling of guilt to an extent because we know deep down inside what is good for us. Or when we get that feeling that says, this feels uncomfortable, or this feels just right. Oftentimes, when we are young, we make decisions just because our friends are doing what we're doing and we're not thinking. This is one of the situations when, if you go out on a date with someone that you are not sure you like them or not, you have a few drinks, you lose control, something happens, and you get pregnant. What happens then? How do you feel? Was that decision made from the heart, or were you simply not listening to your intuition, your gut feelings, and your heart? Because your heart will tell you what is right and what is wrong. I read in a book by Oprah Winfrey where she says, if there is one thing I know for sure is that I will never try to do anything for someone unless I listen to my heart first. Unless I know that those feelings of doing something for people who are consistently wanting something from me comes from my heart. Likewise, when you make a decision, whether it is in love or relationship or partner or something that you know with certainty that you have a doubt, do not do it. Just the fact that you have that feeling tells you that there is a question about what you are about to do. In today's society, people suffer because they're trying to be something that they're not. Oftentimes, you join a group, you join a church, you make a decision to do something that you are not sure deep inside that is the right decision for you because your heart is telling you otherwise. However, you want to fit in, you want to change, you want something different. Perhaps you think you may find a partner in church like many people think they do, and you go ahead and join, only to find out that you do not belong, that you're not welcome, that you are different than the rest of the people because of what they believe and you don't, or you are not honest with yourself by being authentic about your decision. That's very important. Authenticity. Being authentic about what is it that you want to do and should do in certain situations. Imagine that a friend or family member invites you for dinner and you are either Jewish, Muslim, or you're a vegetarian and you do not eat pork. Everybody's enjoying pork and ribs and ham and everything that you do not eat. Hot dogs, perhaps, and you feel completely left out. Not so much because they're eating, but because no one in the group that you have been invited to have asked you if there is anything they can do for you to enjoy the meal with them. In other words, you have been left out. Should you have made the decision to accept that invitation when you knew in your heart that these people or family member do not follow the same traditions that you do about eating? And if you did, should you have said something ahead of time? Perhaps. But you leave with the feeling that you're not welcome because you have been invited and there was not a choice for you to have. These are some of the consequences of the things that happen when we make decisions, when we do things that we're not sure about, when we try to please other people, when we think that if we do something, we're going to fit into a group, into a relationship, into family, and into perhaps future family members. Pleasing others can only lead to disappointment because you have to be very honest with yourself about what is good for you and not. In today's society, there is a lot of pressure about people wanting you to do things, wanting you to get into a relationship, wanting you to date a certain person that perhaps does not fit the criteria, or what is it that you are looking for in a partner. Such decisions can lead to the following situation. Recently, I was walking my dog and I heard a conversation coming from a house, a young couple with small children. The man was completely out of control verbally. He was abusive, he was screaming. The kids were afraid. They sounded like the children might have been about 5 or 6 years old. And such out of control behavior has an effect emotionally, psychologically, and even physically on those children. Perhaps the fact that someone made a choice to marry someone that they knew had an abusive behavior led to the circumstances that were happening at the minute. What I want to bring out is the following point. Did you know that either those children will become bullied because they hear abusive behavior and their conscious mind is already being trained to behave in such a way, or they will either have a very unhealthy biological experience, such as getting sick, being very nervous, because the cells of the body, beginning with the neural cells of the brain, will be sending messages to the rest of the cells in this children's body to make them feel uncomfortable, unhealthy, and even sick. There are circumstances in which, when a child hears such an abusive type of verbal communication, they get sick to the point they throw up. They begin to have a cold. They don't want to eat. They have problems sleeping. That is because their cells are generating the same emotional behavior that they have heard from one of the parents. In other words, every decision that we make in life about our partners has an effect not only on us, but on our siblings, on what happens to them, how it may have a negative effect psychologically, emotionally, and biologically. It is difficult to understand that during this time, a lot of people cannot cope with their partner because they are together, they are consistently on top of each other, and it brings about some of the emotional bandages that have been covered up that do not surface when everyone is busy, when everybody is doing something. And therefore, now that people are spending more time together, the reality of the true colors begins to show. I like to say the following. In my book, Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Us, I distinctly point out the fact that not only children are going to be learning from computers in their house, but also the psychological trauma that we will have as a result of technology will require for us, adults and children, to have the need to have coaching to help us deal with the emotional and detrimental feelings that we're going through today. Perhaps you should read that in my book because it states clearly that these things will happen. The pandemic has not only brought forth the ability for us to really show who we are, but it's also giving us an opportunity to mend ourselves, to try to make choices based on our deep emotions coming from the heart, not from decisions made in the moment without thinking, without knowing what we're doing. Because the truth is that today, this society is in great need of help. Of course, there have been some relief with the financial assistance, but there is so much going on at the deep end of family behavior and rooted unhealthy relationships that we need help in restructuring the family. We need to have programs that teach people how to keep it together during this time because some of them do not know any better. They're doing the best they can with what they have. I believe all of us are. If they don't get education, if they don't get help, if they don't get the assistance that they need to help them deal with the emotional trauma of being home and locked up with their kids, it can have detrimental effects. Not so much on the adults, but on the children. My advice is that we should offer help. That the decisions that we make may not be right or wrong, but once they're made, we are bound to deal with whatever decision is it that we have made in life. We don't need the suffering, and we don't need for people to do things that they're not aware are unhealthy and may have consequences for their loved ones. Choices can make us unhappy. Choices can have emotional, psychological, and detrimental negative effects. Please make the right choice. Make sure that you listen to your heart whenever you have a question about whether you should or should not do something. Because the truth is, if you question the ability of making a choice, you are not making the right choice. Thank you for listening. It's been a pleasure as usual. Please share my video. This is Francis Mahan from Conscious Dating. Have a wonderful evening. Love and light. Goodbye.